You probably look at Australia when you think of the world's most venomous creatures. Many of the snakes, spiders, and even marine life down under are packing some of the most powerful toxins on Earth. But despite being home to a few species of lizard that do pack venomous bites, the title of the world's most venomous lizard actually goes to a different reptile, a vibrantly colored creature found in the deserts of North America on the other side of the globe.
There's probably no lizard on Earth that can make me this happy to see in the wild. What we've got right here doesn't need an introduction. The Gila monster speaks for itself. It is one of the most vibrant, one of the most charismatic, and one of the coolest lizards you could possibly hope to encounter. This one is a small adult, and what he's doing right here in the early hours of morning, he's coming out into the wash, using that sun to soak up heat for the day. And this is one of the rare opportunities to actually get to see them outside of their burrows.
People are generally aware that Gila monsters are venomous and armed with a really bad bite, but I don't think that people realize how unusual these lizards are. While the reptile order Squamata includes snakes, I bet you didn't know that snakes are technically lizards. True lizards belong to the Lacertilia, with over 7,000 species worldwide. It is no exaggeration that lizards are the most successful reptiles in the world, and among the most diverse terrestrial vertebrates. Among the non-snake lizards, how many do you think are actually venomous? Surely a few hundred, maybe 1,000, right? Well, turns out that of the 7,000 species of lizards, we have only 2 genera that use venom. The monitor lizards from the genus Venomous and the beaded lizards from the genus Heloderma. Unlike snakes, venom is extraordinarily rare among lizards, and it is the Gila monster of the American Southwest that stands supreme as the most venomous of the four-legged squamates. Now, of course, calling something the most venomous in the world is a pretty extreme claim, so we have to have a way to back that up. Well, it turns out we actually have a method of ranking how venomous something actually is. It's not just some broad, vague, magical term. We have a way to quantify how venomous an animal is. We use a metric called LD50, which basically measures the lethal dose of venom proportional to the body weight of whatever that venom is injected into. On this scale, the smaller the number, the less venom it takes to kill something, which means the more powerful the venom. And the Gila monster comes in at a score of 0.4. At that level of toxicity, it would only take 38 milligrams to kill a human my size. That's the same weight as a postage stamp. It is a tiny, tiny amount of venom. No other lizard comes anywhere close to that potency, which makes the Gila monster the most venomous lizard on Earth.
Now, if you look close at their head there, you can see they have that chunky, almost pit bull-like head. You're probably asking, well, those are the venom glands, right? Because they have big old cheeks. This isn't like a snake, though. The venom glands aren't in the cheeks like that. A lot of lizards have those big cheeks because they're just packed with muscle. This is a very strong lizard. Looks lazy right now, but if he wants to put on some speed, he could absolutely disappear. And that powerful jaw can give one of the most painful bites, if not the most painful vertebrate bite on Earth. I mean, I'm sure like a great white shark would be more painful just from the sheer mechanical damage it would do to your body. But from a perspective of like small venomous animals, there really isn't a more painful bite than the Gila monster. But it's not, because the venom is in those cheeks. Look at his bottom jaw there. See how it almost looks like it's like puffed out, like he's got like a toothache or something? That's not an infection. That is where his venom glands are. They're modified salivary glands in that bottom jaw that basically ooze venom into their mouth when they bite something.
The Gila monster's venom is reported to be the most painful of any living vertebrate. A bite from this lizard causes a searing, burning pain as the venom works its way through your circulatory system, destroying tissue and triggering your pain receptors to fire. This lizard possesses both hemotoxins and myotoxins, making it very similar to the bite of a rattlesnake. With its high toxicity, you'd think the Gila monster would be a much deadlier bite too, but since they don't have the precise delivery method that snakes have, their venom tends to not go systemic and kill you, instead causing the most intense, localized pain you can receive from a reptile.
And that venom is probably one of the weirdest things about this lizard.
What makes this lizard so unusual is actually how it uses its venom. While venom is rare among lizards, the other venomous squamate reptiles, snakes, are pretty consistent in what purpose their venom actually serves. Snake venoms generally come in two varieties, hemotoxic and neurotoxic, and it usually depends on what the snake's primary prey source is. Mammal hunters, like the vipers, tend to have a hemotoxic venom, evolved to destroy the circulatory system of warm-blooded animals. Neurotoxins work a bit more universally, but tend to be found in reptile hunters. These snakes evolved to hunt cold-blooded prey, so stopping them in their tracks requires paralysis, turning off their nervous system. Either way, snakes are typically using venom as a tool to kill their food. There are some snakes that have venom as a secondary tool though, species like the lyre snake, which are equipped with a primarily cytotoxic venom. Their venom breaks down tissue and cells, but many of these species are using constriction to kill their prey, and their venom as an extra measure to aid in digestion.
Normally, we think of things like venomous snakes, rattlesnakes, spiders, scorpions. They're using their venom to kill the things that they're eating. But this guy, in some ways, I guess you could say he is a bit of a lazy lizard. He's not hunting difficult prey. He's rooting around, digging in the environment, trying to find mammal nests. He's not even eating the adult mammals unless they just happen to be home. He's raiding the nests for babies. He's raiding birds' nests for eggs. You know, occasionally he'll take lizards and stuff, but that venom, while it could be used to kill something, they're almost exclusively using that venom for defense.
It comes with the lifestyles of these venomous reptiles too. Most venomous snakes have elaborate, modeled patterns that help them blend into their environments. Whether it's the ambush hunting vipers that wait for prey to come to them, or the active hunting elapids that are snaking through their habitats to track down their prey, most snakes use their colors to hide. Only some of the subterranean species that hunt in total darkness use color to advertise their toxins, on the off chance a diurnal predator stumbles onto them. The Gila monster spends most of its time deep underground conserving energy, but when it comes out to forage, it's doing so actively in the open desert where it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Have a look at just the amazing patterning on this. They almost look unreal. And one of my favorite things about a lot of these like charismatic venomous creatures is they look unreal. In the bright open wash, there is no mistaking this lizard. Bright orange, jet black, that is aposematic coloration that tells you, hey, back off, I'm dangerously venomous. But in the shade, in the cover of the plants, he is almost invisible. That modeled, textured, just design that the plants create on the ground actually look just like the black and orange modeling on his back. He has that aposematic color that tells you to stay away. But if you ignore the colorful warning, he will give you a bite you will not forget.
The Gila monster is actually not unique in the Sonoran Desert in that it uses venom for defense. In fact, a lot of invertebrates have wildly potent toxins that they're using mostly to defend themselves or their nest from larger would-be predators. Things like the Maricopa harvestrant found in the exact same open deserts that you'd find a Gila monster in, and with a score of 0.12, these insects rank up with like cobras in toxicity, and are by far the most venomous insect on Earth. As we get into the rockier canyons, the western black widow is by weight the most venomous spider in the United States, with some studies ranking their LD50 as low as 0.2. What's even more fascinating about the widow spider is its most toxic component, a neurotoxin known as alpha-latrotoxin, seems to have evolved entirely for defense against vertebrate predators, things that are rooting around in its habitat trying to eat the spider. It's not using that toxin against its insect prey, it's using it to keep itself alive. And that alpha-latrotoxin is the same exact chemical that is causing the horrific muscle spasms that you feel when you're bitten by a black widow. So even though we're talking about a lizard and not an invertebrate, this actually isn't a new thing in the Sonoran Desert. And we actually see a lot of these super potent venoms occurring in arid habitats around the world. Deserts get their name from the fact that they have a lot fewer resources than much wetter, much lusher habitats. And that means the things that live there have to have the most extreme adaptations to be able to survive. And if a lot of your biology revolves around venom, you're gonna want a relatively potent venom to make sure that you have the best advantage in the environment you call home. In the cases of defensive venoms, there are a lot of animals that get very desperate and will sometimes go after prey items that in other habitats maybe they wouldn't even bother with. So when a normal toxicity of venom might not be enough to actually dissuade a predator from attacking you, the selective pressure is going to be for your venom to be a lot more toxic than it would be in a temperate forest habitat or a mountain habitat. And that appears to be what's going on in the case of the Gila monster.
Now, I have heard things like, this is one of the deadliest animals of the desert or something, but the truth is, a Gila monster really isn't going to kill you. Deaths are extraordinarily rare and usually only happen in captivity. And you can see right here, they're not really monsters. They're more of a mythical creature than a monster. Generally speaking, they're mild-mannered lizards. They want to stick to the shadows. They want to hide underground. He doesn't want to bother with humans. And when we leave, he's certainly going to disappear right back down a burrow where he came from.
The Gila monster is a monster in name only. Its bite is excruciating, but it's hardly a danger to people. We are far more dangerous to these lizards than they could ever hope to be to us. For years, these reptiles were over-harvested from the wild for private collections and the pet trade. Due to them being a rather cool-looking lizard, keepers across the world prized them for the bright patterns and the Gila's legendary reputation. Since these lizards have small home ranges and often spend 90% or more of their lives in the same burrows, habitat destruction has threatened their populations as humans continue to develop the deserts they live in. Conservation efforts have stabilized their population sizes, but these iconic lizards are under constant threat from their human neighbors. The Gila might not be using its venom to subdue its prey, but it's still a predator. It's rooting around, eating the young of birds and mammals and sometimes lizards. And as mean as that sounds, it's doing an important service to the ecosystem. Number one, it's eliminating poorly hidden nests, which in turn help the surviving mammals and birds to adapt to Gila monster presence and hide their nests better in places the lizard can't get to. But it also keeps these smaller consumers in check, so they don't over-consume insects and stuff that pollinate the plants. The Gila monster helps keep the food web of the Sonoran Desert in balance and helps to regulate the beautiful scenic environments that we all know and love. But even more than their ecological function, Gila monsters are surprisingly useful for people, and not as pets, not as cool animals to go take photos of for Instagram. But it turns out their venom is really useful to medicine.
GLP-1s.
If you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably heard of these new weight loss drugs called GLP-1s. Primarily for use in treating diabetes, GLP-1s, or glucagon-like peptides, help trigger signaling pathways in your body that regulate blood sugar. Basically, it mimics a hormone normally produced by your small intestines that tells your brain that you're feeling full and tells your pancreas to start signaling for the absorption of sugar from your bloodstream. This means reduced appetite and better fat burning, making GLPs an effective treatment for obesity as well, helping to combat many of the chronic diseases that come with it. Turns out, one of the proteins in Gila monster venom, exendin 4, triggers the exact same receptors that natural GLP hormones do, and has become the basis for well-known drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, and other prescription GLP-1s. The craziest part is this doesn't seem like it was an intended function of Gila monster venom. Like, I don't think there's some weird evolutionary pressure for them to help the predators they're biting lose weight. Like, there's maybe a really complicated explanation there, like it starves them out in the desert or something, but it's a little too complicated to make sense as the actual purpose of that exendin 4 protein. So our best hypothesis is this is actually just an evolutionary accident. This protein in their venom just happens to also have this other function. And we see this a lot with the venoms of animals that we study already. Like the Sydney funnelweb, for example, didn't evolve alongside primates, and yet its venom has proteins that are particularly toxic to primate physiology. So despite it being kind of a normal amount of venomous to like a cat or a dog, it's lethally venomous to humans. But this weird theme of venomous creatures having unintended functions hidden in their venoms isn't always something that we should be afraid of. Like the Gila monster, a lot of them can actually have really neat medical applications and is a great argument for why we shouldn't just kill venomous animals on sight. So many of the people I see in the comments or just out and about in rural parts of the US hate venomous snakes or any medically significant spiders, and they kill anything that looks like them on sight. For years, I had a neighbor who would even kill the snakes she knew to be non-venomous, simply because she hated snakes. And this hatred of these weird, creepy, crawly animals is rooted in fear. Now, of course, venomous snakes and venomous spiders, things that have dangerous bites, can be scary. But just because they pose dangers to us doesn't mean that they can't also be useful. Fire is dangerous, and look at how many ways we can use fire to make everyday life better. And it's not just Gila monsters. Copperhead venom has proved useful in the treatment of cancer. Various spider venoms have been found to be useful in treating chronic pain. The Brazilian wandering spider, the most venomous spider on Earth, has medical applications for treating erectile dysfunction. So the next logical question is, are there other venomous creatures out there that we normally look on with fear that could hold the cures to nasty diseases or offer other secrets that can help make the world a better place? And the only way we can find out is if we can actually beat these fears. And the best way to beat this fear is to get face to face with the creatures that scare us. In my case, it's not spiders or venomous reptiles that make my skin crawl, it's centipedes. These fast, many-legged predators are nature's perfect killing machines, and having been on the receiving end of their venom-injecting claws, I know firsthand the toxic power these creatures possess. But every time I've pushed past fear, I've found that the world is actually a rich and fascinating place to live. I know on the other side of my fear of centipedes, this will be true as well, but I need to confront it head on. To do that, I'm going to be getting hands-on with the world's most venomous centipede, deep in the jungles of Southeast Asia. Over the years, I've been building up to this very moment. The most venomous spiders, the most dangerous snakes, myth-busting the creatures that are the stuff of nightmares to show they're not the murderous monsters they're made out to be. In the latest episode of Beyond the Backyard, I am summiting that peak and getting flesh to exoskeleton with the one animal I fear the most. If you want to follow that adventure and see if I end up receiving the most painful invertebrate bite in the world, you can stream it today, only on Nebula. If you've been a longtime fan of this channel and you like content that goes deep down the rabbit hole, Nebula is certainly the place for you. Founded by independent creators for independent creators, it allows passionate educators, investigative journalists, and science communicators to cover in-depth topics without having to cater to sensational algorithms. My new series, Beyond the Backyard, takes me on adventures to find some of the most legendary animals on Earth and tell their stories to the world. From the far reaches of Australian Outback to the rainforests of southern Thailand, our world is full of amazing biological secrets just waiting to be discovered, and we're going beyond the backyard to find them all. Along with my exclusive series, you can watch shows from 200 other creators like Real Life Lore's Ghost Towns or Real Science's Becoming Human, ad-free and found nowhere else on the internet when you subscribe to Nebula. If that sounds like something you're interested in, click on the link in the description or use the QR code on screen to get 50% off an annual subscription. That's $30 a year or less than $3 a month, or 40% off a lifetime one-time purchase membership. Subscribing to Nebula helps support this channel and allows me to continue to create the animal documentaries you love. Watch Beyond the Backyard, streaming now on Nebula. Hope to see you there, but until next time, don't forget to get outside and find your own adventure.